So this is almost like the national dish of New York City because lots and lots of meals just end with cheesecake. They're not really big dessert eaters, they're big savory eaters. Now, you'll notice also the cheesecake doesn't have, and I'll say, gunky fruit on top. Lots and lots of people like to put, jam or fruit or things out of a can or whatever on top.
But the taste of this one is so good, it doesn't need anything.
Right. It's generally, it's a purist. You eat it plain. And it weighs 5 pounds when you finish. It's really heavy. And it serves around 16 pieces. So it goes pretty far.
You don't have to have the candles.
Yeah, the candles are there.
You'll see
because
later.
you have a picture of
Yes,
why? Okay,
yes.
he'll tell you at the end. I won't give it away.
Okay.
So this is the recipe, which you'll have online later on. And
Okay.
pretty easy things that you're going to have around the house. So you want 2 pounds of full fat, the cream cheese, the square rectangles, not the whipped stuff. And you don't want it. This isn't the place to go on a diet. When you eat cheesecake, you don't want the skinny cream cheese. 1.5 cups of sugar, 3/4 cup of milk, 4 eggs. There's a picture of it after. 1 cup, again, full fat sour creams. It's 14% up here. I don't know what it is there. 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract, and I use real vanilla extract. 4 heaping tablespoons of flour. And the only thing you may not have in the house is the 1 cup of graham cracker crumbs. And if you can't get the crumbs, you can just buy a box of graham crackers and take 14 crackers and put them in your Cuisinart and make crumbs. Do you have a picture of the?
I do.
Yeah, so here's all the ingredients. You're going to use a springform pan. God, I hope that I have that in the recipe. I may not have written it.
Yeah, this is the spring form right here.
Right. And I use a hand mixer to mix it all. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to put those graham crackers in the bottom of the pan, and you've already lightly greased all the sides of the pan. To make the whipping easier, I chunk up, first of all, I leave the cream cheese at room temperature so it's softer. And then I put it into chunks because when you start whipping it with the mixer, it's hard. It all sticks to the mixer and the mixer bogs down, and don't get worried, that's what happens. So I'm just adding the sugar and the milk for the first mixing. You can see it's kind of lumpy, rough. You don't have to get it down to really smooth because more things are going to be going in. A little bit smoother when I went a little further. Then it probably says in the recipe, add eggs 1 at a time, but I just put them in the 4 corners and do it at the same time. So then the eggs go in with the vanilla. That's after the eggs are in. It's a little bubbly there because the eggs are in. And now the vanilla goes in and the flour. There's only 4 tablespoons of flour. Somebody who had it recently, who had a allergy to gluten and flour, whatever, and she had the cheesecake without a problem because there's only 4 tablespoons in that whole cake. So this is what it looks like when you've finished beating it.
And you pour it into the springform pan. Right?
Yeah. Okay, so after you've baked it in the oven, and an important thing to remember, it's an odd thing, which not a lot of cakes do. You have to pull the cake rack out and let it cool halfway in and halfway out. They're very heavy. You can see a crack already starting to form. And don't worry if it cracks, because if it does, they know it's a really good, heavy cheesecake full of cream cheese.
We usually do get cracks.
Yeah. There's a way to have less cracks if it really bothers you. And for that, I take a really thin knife and I go around the edge at this point and I kind of cut the cake away from the edge so it's not touching or sticking to the edge as it cools. So here you could see I've mucked it up on that side when I put the knife around. But that doesn't matter. Cheesecake should have character. They're not, you're not going for beauty. So the reason I made the cheesecake is I've been feeding some people during COVID, and one of them is this couple up. He had just turned 90, so I made it for his birthday. His wife is 89, and we drove it an hour and a half up north. And because he and I had had a conversation about loving New York City, and he said the same thing, that you just take a sliver of it and you're fine. And so he helped himself to a sliver, and then another sliver, and then another sliver, and he never ate lunch. He just had cheesecake. You're not allowed to do that.
Oh,
That's it.
can you go back to the slide of it in the dish, in the oven? So that looks like it's about 4 inches
Oops.
high, is it?
Whatever the height, it does rise. You could see from the batter to this, it's risen to the top of the, I can go measure how high.
Well, no. What I was wondering is when it was on the table on the plate, it didn't look that high. And I was wondering if it compressed some as it cooled.
A little bit.
Okay.
Goes down a little bit. And of course, I said some people do put strawberry jam on top, blueberry jam, or just serve it on the side if you want to ruin the taste of it.
Yeah.
Definitely serve it little cups of the different jam. Let anybody put whatever flavor they want.
The middle of it here sank down a tiny bit.
The yeah, some people decorate it with strawberries around the top, or serve fresh strawberries on the side. So you can do it with whatever flavors you like. Those are the two most popular. My mom had a thing of making half the cake red strawberry and half the cake blue blueberry. She liked to fancy it up.
Well, many cheesecake recipes have intimidated me, and this looks like it's doable.
Well, basically, you're just dumping it all in and mixing. There really is.
Yeah, I like that.
There's no scary chemistry
The whole
in it.
thing took us like 15 minutes.
Yeah, once you
Okay.
together, it's just the
Well,
mixing.
and I love your comment that it has character. Cracks are okay. I mean,
Yes, it should have cracks. Sometimes the cracks are right down the middle. Yeah, it definitely should. And you don't have to worry about whipping it to make it all perfectly smooth like cream. It can have a little bit of texture in it. You don't really have to worry about it.
Okay. Gail has raised her hand. Do you want to
Yes.
unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yes, I saw the graham cracker crumbs in the bottom, but I didn't
Right.
hear anything about butter on those. Do you?
Nope. No, just
No butter.
plain dry graham cracker crumbs.
Really? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I've also made it without the crumbs. I'm not quite sure what they're needed for, but they're there. So yeah, and it's just on the bottom, not on the sides.
And you'll see in this picture, we still have the bottom of the tin.
When I was serving
We've
it.
served it on the bottom of that.
So I often will just put the tin on a plate because I'm afraid to take the whole thing off.
Gotcha.
I have in the past once actually made it as cupcakes, but I'm not sure how long to cook it for because it's much less in each one.
Sure.
Billy has a question?
Yes, he does. Billy?
Now, what's your thought of the Cheesecake Factory after you voted New York to the top? What's your thought of the Cheesecake Factory?
Yeah, as long as you eat the plain one, but once they start throwing all those weird flavors into it, it's not cheesecake to me. Although I will say another recipe that I have is for chocolate cheesecake, but when I serve it to people, I don't say chocolate cheesecake because that sounds yuck. So I just usually call it a fudge cake, and that really sells it much better. But yeah, I'm a purist when it comes to cheesecake. So, don't throw raspberries in there and don't throw caramel. Yeah. But everybody's got their own thing. And look, they've made a big success at doing cheesecake across
Okay. I
America.
like to eat other things at the Cheesecake Factory better than the cheesecake.
Well, because he knows he gets good stuff at
Yeah.
home.
Right. Oh. So how many candles were on the cake?
There was 9. I had to decide, was I going to do 90?
Right.
There's a lot of holes in that cake. So I did 9, for 10, each 10 years. The only other thing I had in the house, because I'm still not shopping and going into stores, is I had an 8, 0. And I thought, well, do I put 80 and 10? I went through all this on how to get to 90. But I figured he'll just multiply. He's an engineer. He could figure it out.
Yeah.
He's still
Diane?
working. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
still working.
so I can understand what you were saying, Kathleen, because looking at the spring foam pan, it looks like an angel food cake, real thick. But it's not that thick?
No, it's pretty high.
Don't
And
forget,
it's
it's
heavy.
very heavy and dense.
It weighs
So-
5 pounds.
So it
Oh,
doesn't
wow.
raise that much.
5 pounds. It's really heavy.
So it's a real thick cheesecake.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize that. Okay, that's why it looks so thick.
That's why you have to eat little slivers.
Yeah.
Well, we are having a family dinner a week from Monday. And I have a son-in-law that loves to make cheesecake. So
Okay.
guess what his assignment will be for that dinner?
Okay.
We
so
will
next
be-
week, I'll get my report card next week on whether I.
Diane?
One more thing, you need to have that cheesecake because dessert spelled backwards is stressed. Think about it, dessert spelled backwards is
Hey, that's
stressed.
very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So enjoy
Very
it.
good.
Mary?
I have an update on the Plitvice Lakes question that I couldn't answer. I was looking through my notes while we were looking at that. It says water flowing over the limestone and chalk have deposited minerals and created natural dams. The result is a series of beautiful lakes, caves, and waterfalls. So I hope that answers a little bit.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I also like to say for evergreens, you could serve it for breakfast because it's just eggs and cheese.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Sure.
Oh, I love that. Okay, let's see. One more question. Oh, no, that was the one about the candles. Okay. Well, wonderful, everyone. Thank you, Sandra, for sharing that. I really, really appreciate it.